What's up, everybody, and welcome to the DNVR Broncos Pregame Show, the one and only, the best pregame show in the nation, hosted by Todd Davis. And today I am joined by my two favorite people,
Wow.
Zac Stevens and Henry Chisholm. So we're rocking and rolling with you, and we are presented by Coors Light. If you want a chiller mindset today, I know it's a lot of stress. Broncos are playing, but if you want to chill before the game and relax your mind, because you never know what can happen. We saw what CU did last night. You never know what can happen. So if you want a chiller mindset, you can get Coors Light delivered straight to your door by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. That's brought to you by Instacart. Shout out to Coors Light, our presenting sponsors. What's up, guys? How you guys feeling?
Man, I'm ready to go. This is like football weather here in Denver. It's probably the exact opposite in Tampa, where I think it's like 80 and sunny, but it's raining right now. Feels like fall, which means football.
I chose a tropical vibe Celsius this time because I wanted to feel more like I'm in Tampa.
Did it work?
I'm a little bit late and I haven't opened it.
Oh, yeah. People in the Toyota chat are killing you for being late.
They better not be. I'm not that late.
No, you're not that late. I think we're used to it now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know who we hope is not late today is the Denver Broncos. We hope that this is a game where they show up early, because this is not a team that you want to get down to early in the game. As you saw last week, we don't play our best when we're playing from behind. But I think this is going to be a better game than what people expect from the Denver Broncos. There's a lot of opportunity here. We can talk about our expectations, but one of the biggest keys to me is we see the inactive, and Vita Vea is not playing today. And we know for the Broncos, we've had a lot of struggles on the offense, especially the offensive line. If we want to be successful, we have to have the running game. But I hope Vita Vea is healthy, but I am happy that he's not playing for this game.
I mean, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire NFL that the Broncos don't have to face. And Todd, is just so important to set up that run.
Yep.
So him not being there, especially in the middle of the line, they have to get Javonte Williams going. We know Jaleel can do stuff when he gets to the outside, but they have to get the run going up the middle. And this is huge. This is absolutely, like you said, you don't really wish ill will on any players, but we hope he's healthy next week. It's a big, big win that he's not healthy this week, especially because Luke Wattenberg clearly struggling so far. I mean, along with the rest of the Broncos offensive line.
Yeah.
So any help they can get, and this is a massive help.
Yeah. I mean, if they can't run the ball today, it's going to be time to get really scared, because, again, like, there's no Vita Vea. They've got, like, William Golston is playing, but he was on the injury report all week. There are a couple of those other guys up front. And, you know, it's tough to run on the Steelers. It's probably tough to run on the Seahawks. Against the Bucs, without Vita Vea, you really should be putting up a big number. And if you can't do it this week, then, like, maybe against Carolina?
Yeah, exactly. I think as an offensive coordinator, you want to be balanced, like 50-50 pass and run. But as soon as you see, like, a key player out, if I'm the offensive coordinator, I'm going like, okay, we're going 75% run, 25% pass, and we're going to live and die by the running game. So that's what I would do if I was Sean, just to be able to get the team rolling, because we don't want the ball in the Bucs' hands for too long. You know, Mike Evans is still in his stride. I don't think he's ever lost it. So we want to be able to keep the ball out of their hands as much as possible. What do you expect to see from Bo today and his operation and how he's going to play?
You need to get him into the groove better. You know, I've been thinking about it a lot. He seems like he's a little bit scared. And, you know, it's not super jittery. It's not just throwing the ball away, but it does seem like he panics just a little bit too much.
Nervous energy.
And I wonder if he just takes a couple of hits early on, if that could settle him down. It kind of reminds me, when I was little, there was a water park right next to where we lived, and there was this massive water slide just like straight down. It was terrifying. And so you just like sit there all day and be like, oh, I can't do that. That's insane. But as soon as you do it, you're like, oh, it's really not that bad. And you just do it over and over and over. So, it's like if you just
you think that hits will settle him down?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think the exact opposite.
I think
Keep
so.
him away from getting hit.
I think that if you line up, like if you just go quarterback power on the first play, because again, I think the other piece of the running game is you need to get Bo running the ball.
Yes.
I think that if you just get him into the game a little bit, then all of a sudden it just doesn't seem so scary and he can just relax.
No.
Really? You don't think so?
Henry, I feel bad for your childhood. Your parents are just throwing you down the scariest things.
No.
That probably made you a little more jittery.
No.
I would do.
As soon as you do it, it's fine.
I know what you're saying, but this is something where, to me, did you guys see the report that came out of Pittsburgh about how their cornerbacks were laughing at the Broncos because they knew exactly what was coming? They knew Bo Nix wasn't going to throw the ball more than 5 yards downfield. You got to be a little more unpredictable. Now, I'm not saying come out and throw 5 deep shots to start the game, but clearly NFL teams know exactly what Bo Nix is going to do and what Sean Payton's going to do, so you have to shake it up. You cannot just be doing what they've done recently, and that's like every pass behind the line of scrimmage or 5 yards within the line of scrimmage. You got to take some deep shots. Again, you're not Josh Allen. You don't have to live with that, but maybe that's what you do to start the game off, is you take one deep shot. Even if it's incomplete, just overthrow them instead of it being underthrown in a pick. But you got to do something to show the Bucs, like, hey, you think you know what we're going to do, but it's not going to be short pass after short pass after short pass after short pass. You can't have the Tampa Bay Bucs and that good secondary laughing at the Broncos after the game like the Steelers were.
No, I completely agree. It's time to switch some things up and take some shots because, unfortunately, I feel like we need to score from outside the red zone because once we get into the red zone, we don't have a really high chance of scoring. We're going to settle
14%.
yeah, we're going to settle for a field goal or throw an interception. And as we know, the Bucs defense is a bend but don't break defense, but they're very good in the red zone. So I agree, Zach. I think it's time to take some shots and take them early so that we can put ourselves in scoring position or score without having to march down the field and try to punch the ball in from the 10-yard line because 14%, I mean, that's an F. We're failing pretty bad at that.
Yeah, very badly. Also, that report from the Steelers locker room, that was our guy, James Palmer. I was standing with him before he went in there. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the Steelers locker room and see what they have to say about the Broncos.
Yeah.
They did not have good things to say.
No, and I think I brought this to the post-game show last week. I was walking by a Steelers reporter on the field, and he was giving his report. And in his report, he said that the Steelers defense said that they didn't have to show anything besides their basic playbook to the Broncos offense because they just didn't need to break into their playbook. So it's got to change. And I know Bo's a rookie, and I do not blame Sean for really protecting Bo over these first 2 weeks. But it's not working, and defenses are literally laughing at you. So now it's time to open up the playbook a little bit, while also keeping it simple in terms of
That's the tough part.
not too many personnel groups. So you can do both things. You can throw the ball deep while having a condensed personnel package on the field. And one more thing that the deep ball will open up. You'll be targeting Courtland Sutton.
Yep.
And come on. We said entering this season, we said it at the beginning of the week 1, that he is your number 1 receiver. Then there is a massive drop-off to number 2, and then there's some competition there, but he is by far your number 1 receiver. His over-under, I think, is like 40.5 yards.
Yeah.
He should be hitting that every single week, and he didn't even get close to that last week, so you have to get him involved.
Yeah, there's a slew of receivers that definitely need more touches, and we'll get into the betting a little bit later, but there are some very good props out there when it comes to Broncos receivers and their over-under yards. But before we go any further, I got to once remind you that our show is brought to you by Coors Light. And if you're looking for a chiller mindset, get you some Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. You can get Coors Light delivered straight to your door by Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Remember to celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Now, you talked a little bit about simplifying, but also being able to execute at a high level. I think that's going to be very important for them in the red zone and the running game. Where do you think that the Broncos need to focus their intention on the running game today?
I think it starts with Javonte Williams and getting him going because Jaleel is a great off-script guy. He's a great guy to get the ball to out of the backfield in the passing game. But this, especially without Audric Estime, it's going to live and die by Javonte. If Javonte gets going, then when you bring Jaleel in and give that off pace, that's going to throw the defense off a little bit. It's going to open him up. If you can't get Javonte going, then this running game is going to have a very, very tough time getting going.
Yeah.
I really liked what the Jets did to start their game on Thursday night. I think it was at least 3 consecutive play action passes just right out of the gate. It's Aaron Rodgers under center, fakes the handoff, rolls out. And I think that when you start the game like that, first of all, I like that play. Like it's a nice, easy read. You just got guys running across the field, easy completions, you would think. But also the next quarter and a half at least that you're trying to run the football, every time you do it, the defense is going to be thinking like, oh, is this another play action? So I like the idea of going that way because just lining up and running the ball right at the start of the game hasn't worked. And I think that that's the next thing you try off of that.
And a reason that I love the play action too is it shortens the field for Bo. It makes it so he's only looking at 1/3 of the field or half of the field. Makes it very easy. Sean should be able to dial up, getting one person open on those, and maybe it is a 2-yard completion. But also that can open up crossers 10, 15, 20 yards downfield, and then. If something's not there, he doesn't have to force it. He can just take off
For sure.
and run. So I really like
Yep.
that. I think that'd be a very nice way for Sean to help Bo. too.
Yeah, and usually on play actions, guys aren't kind of open. They're wide open when they're running across the field. Most of the balls that he's thrown in the last 2 weeks are highly contested balls that he's just trying to fit. I don't even know how I want to phrase this because I felt like it was going left and I want to keep it straight, you know what I'm saying? But the defender is right there, and so he has to fit these footballs in tight windows, and so it's important for him to have more opportunities, having guys kind of wide open down the field to hit his target and not feel like he has to place the ball so specifically and he can't make a mistake.
Yep. And the other reason I like it is because last week the Broncos called 39 pass plays. 37 of them were out of shotgun. One of them, Bo lined up at receiver. And then there was only one that was actually from under center, and it wasn't play action. So they didn't run a single play action from under center. Basically, every time they lined up under center, the defense knew they were going to run.
Yep.
So you just have to change that tendency. And that's the tough part is one of the things Sean said after the game is that they need to look at what they're asking their players to do. First thing I think of is when you had Greg Dulcich pull across and try to clean up Alex Highsmith on a run. Doesn't work. You can't ask him to do that, but also how do you put him on the field without just showing that it's going to be a pass? So that's kind of the next step for this offense is that what they started out doing didn't work. And so who do you take off the field? Who do you put on the field? I'm curious what this is going to actually look like this week.
Yeah, and what does Bo do well?
Yeah.
Bo didn't spend a lot of time under center, in college. So most of his operations were done out of the shotgun, so he feels comfortable there. So how do we put him under center and then tell him to work on his 5-step drop and get the ball out quickly mid-game? You know what I'm saying? We have to work on that in practice to be able to implement it in the game.
And Troy Franklin, he's playing today. He's active. Devon Vele, inactive. We found out he cracked a rib in that week 1 game. He wasn't on the game status report, so technically the Broncos said he's healthy to play. My guess is, though, with the cracked rib, like he could play, but they're just like, okay, it's week 3. Let's just get you healthy.
And he didn't practice much this week.
Exactly. But that means Troy Franklin's available. And Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, the speed, the threat there. I mean, at some point, you got to get the ball in one of these guys' hands to try to make them, to try to get them to make a play. And so far, we haven't really seen it at all. But you have these guys on your team for a reason because they're big threat guys. You got to give them an opportunity at some point, and they didn't last week.
Well, I think there was one. I remember one deep shot to Marvin.
Yeah.
And I think he was open, and I feel like Bo missed the throw.
Threw it out of bounds.
Yeah, threw it out of bounds. But Marvin was open, so that's Sean opening the playbook just a little bit. So hopefully, there's more of that to come because can't be predictable when Marvin's on the field, but we also need him to, create space in the defense. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be very, very interesting to see. I want to talk about Troy Franklin a little bit more. What do you expect to see for him? Do we have any predictions as far as catch totals, passing yards? I think he's a good receiver, but I don't know how much time he'll see his really first game, playing.
Yeah, I mean, last week he played 12 snaps, and Marvin Mims played a career-low 9 snaps. So my expectations are no expectations, and anything that they do beyond 0, I'll be just happy for. What is it? Low expectations make, what's the saying?
I have no idea.
Low expectations make happiness.
I don't know.
I always just had high expectations.
High expectations. I'm not having high expectations for this Broncos offense because anything that I get beyond that, which is nothing, I'll just be happy about. And I had the opposite. I had high expectations for this offense coming into the season, and it's been disappointing. So I'm flipping my mindset for this game. I'm going low expectations, and anything above that, I'll be happy with.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't expect much from Troy, but I will say that if I were in charge, I would be using him a bunch right now because, during training camp, he was the only guy who was getting open deep consistently. There were a couple guys who had like a play or two. Troy Franklin was getting open. It was just that he would drop the ball every time he got there. At this point in the season, having somebody open deep and then just kind of praying that he catches the football sounds like an upgrade over what we've seen so far. So if I was Sean Payton, I'd say, you know what? He hasn't earned this through like the play that we've seen, but I think that there's a chance that he catches the ball today when we give him the opportunity. And if that's the case, there's 60 yards.
I hope so. We talk about the deep throw a lot, but like as I'm replaying everything in my mind, there's 3 interceptions when the ball's thrown deep, overthrow to Marvin Mims, Josh Reynolds touchdowns. He technically had to come back to get the ball that wasn't thrown on target.
Yep.
Not saying Bo doesn't have a deep ball, but I don't know if we've seen it yet. Like, do we feel confident in him throwing the ball? As much as we want it, like, I don't know if we have the confidence to really, or Sean has the confidence to call those plays.
No, 100% not, because also not just in the first 2 weeks of the season, but in training camp. The Broncos did not throw the ball deep in training camp. And then Zach Wilson started opening it up, and he was throwing it deep. Bo never threw the ball deep in training camp. So I don't blame Sean for not doing that. But you get to a point where it's kind of like, F it. Like, we're 0-2. We got to do something. And especially when defenses know how predictable you are. Again, don't drop back and throw the ball deep 20 times this game, but I would start off with it and then kind of go from there.
I mean, I think 12 of 26 drives so far this season, they've gone three and out. So if that's the expectation, why not just chuck it deep 3 times? And I mean, it's worst case scenario, it's a 3 and out. Like, I don't hate it.
It's a 22-second 3 and out.
That's how you wind up with some ugly numbers. I would love to see them open things up. I would love to see more of the empty because that makes things so easy for the quarterback. I think, I like you said, Bo is comfortable out of shotgun. Maybe you just ditch all this under center stuff, the power run stuff, and say we're going RPO spread heavy. Like, because right now it's just so obvious what they're doing given who's on the field or how you're lining up. Like, there are just so many tells that you just need to find something that's a little bit more neutral. And if that's going spread with Bo against a defense that you should be able to carve up kind of however you want, you would think, I wouldn't mind that at all.
No, I think that could work for him. Now, we talked a lot about the offense. I want to switch gears and kind of talk about the defensive side of the ball. The Broncos have been playing good defense, but we need them to kind of step up and do a little bit more if we're going to be competitive in these games. They didn't have a turnover last week, had one the week before, really 3 with the 2 safeties. Yeah. I feel like my biggest prediction for this game is that J-Mac is going to make a play. He's the guy that was a turnover magnet last season and really sparked the defense. And he hasn't been that, so far these first 2 games. But I look for this to be a game for him to really get back on track to the plays he was making last year, make some splash plays to put the offense in good field position to hopefully get some points.
It honestly seems like J-Mac is the guy to take the Broncos defense from like really good to great and elite. And when a cornerback, and Todd, you know way more than I do, but I have to imagine when a cornerback is making big time plays, especially hits, forced fumbles, interceptions, sacks, tackles for a loss, that gets the rest of the defense going like, hey, that small guy can do it. I can do it too. And we saw it last year. He was the one that was really leading the turnover streak during their 5-game win streak. He was like the heart of that. So when I think back to these first 2 games, I think a great defense. I don't think of J-Mac at all, and so I think that's a big opportunity. So I love that there. I'm going to go with another cornerback. I'm going to go with Riley Moss. For the Broncos to win this game, I think he needs to come up with a big play, whether that's a PBU that ends up flying in the air and Brandon Jones picks it off, or he actually gets an interception. He's going to get targeted a ton, especially how I think this is going to go. Pat, you're up against Mike Evans. Shut him down. Riley, you're up against Chris Godwin, and we're going to give you safety help. You're going to have another guy helping you out most of the game, but this is a guy, Chris Godwin. He's averaging 100 yards per game right now. They are going to target you over and over and over again. And Riley Moss told us in the locker room this week, I'm done with being close to making plays. I'm going to make plays this week, is what he told us. So I'm looking forward to it. He's very confident, and I love that from a corner.
Yeah, you guys made this really easy on me. Jaquan Riley, I'll take Pat to have a big play. Like I feel like that's the one that's just sitting right there. I kind of like the interception bets. I think Riley was at plus 750. Jaquan's at like plus 850. Pat's like 450, of course, because he's Pat Surtain.
Yep.
You need him to show up. He's had a really rough start to the season. There's also a bunch of really great plays that he's made. And if you look at like the total numbers and coverage, they're good. And he's had tough matchups. Also leads the NFL in flags so far. That's got to stop. A couple big plays today could really be the difference. Could really balance out that start of the year for him.
And that's the one thing that Sean's challenged him with, is making plays. We know how good of a player he is, but now he just needs to make plays on the ball. That's something Sean has challenged him to. I mean, he's even going to get targeted a lot this game because you have Mike Evans.
Yep.
You got to throw the ball to Mike Evans if you're Baker.
I think this is the game that the defense as a whole says F it. Like, I think that was what changed in that 5-game winning streak. Is like, they knew the offense wasn't going to get it done, and they're like, F it. Yeah, I'll make a play if it's on me, or I'll try to change the course of the game. I think they're like, everybody's in their mind right now. They want to be good. They want to be focused. They want to be dialed in. But I think that because of how bad the offense was last year, they just said F it and just everybody tried to make a play. I think this is the game where they got like, F it. Let's just go out there and ball out. I'm not cussing, so I can say that on the show, you know what I'm saying? But let's just go out there and ball out and make a play, and kind of just whatever happens, you know? If I make a mistake, so what? I do it 100 miles an hour. If I get a pick, let's do it. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to the house.
It scares me a little bit, though. I think.
But what's the other option?
Totally. Oh, absolutely.
We can't say
right.
let's just play soft defense and let the offense win the game.
It doesn't work.
We can't be a bend but don't break defense.
No,
you
totally.
got to win the game.
Yeah.
But just
for the team.
feels like over the past 8 years or whatever, there's been kind of a point in the season where the defense has been carrying the team, whether that's like actual wins or whether it's not. And then there's kind of this turning point where it's like, oh no, the defense just kind of broke. And it doesn't happen every year, but last year, obviously, like the Miami game happens. You just have some of those moments where I'm still not totally sold that this is a really good defense, because through the first 2 weeks, they have been really good. They've been one of the best in the league. If they can make it through this next 3-game stretch, then all of a sudden I can believe it. The whole going out there and gambling, you know, we still need to see a little bit more Riley. Still need to see a little bit more PJ back there. There are a couple of those question marks, so I just hope this isn't the day that they kind of break.
One person who we're going to see a lot from today, a lot more from, is Jonah Ellis.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, there was the Khalil Mack, Michael Schofield game in Denver about a decade ago where Khalil got
What happened? What happened in that game?
Sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Bucs had that game last week with Aiden Hutchinson.
Yep.
He had 5 sacks last week. How do you lose a football game when a guy on your team gets 5 sacks? So, I mean, that speaks to the Bucs' resiliency, I guess, but there's going to be plays that are able to be made by the Broncos pass rushers. Baron Browning was put on IR this week. So now I think that turns the keys to Jonah Ellis, and he's going to have an opportunity. He got a sack last week. A strip sack would be massive. So I do think there's going to be opportunities for interceptions, but there's also that opportunity for a big play, a strip sack. We saw Nick Bonito, when the Broncos got their first win last year, have a 2-sack game. Jonathan Cooper was also big in that game. So it's going to be there for the Broncos to get.
Yeah, and he's made for it. I think he's made for these moments. His dad was the first-round draft pick. He's one of 4 brothers playing in the NFL. I mean,
insane.
What more can you ask for? That's just genes, and it's like he was made to play in the NFL. So he's definitely ready for it, and I hope he takes advantage of it this game, because the Broncos need a splash playmaker. I think Jonathan Cooper had a great game 2 weeks ago, but nobody's getting turnovers, nobody's creating big plays, so a sack fumble will be huge for him in this game.
The more I think about it, the more the defense just can't waste opportunities. There can't be like you had him in your arms and then he got away. There can't be like, the ball hit you in the hands, but you couldn't bring in the interception. Like, they just don't have the wiggle room in a game like this where that offense is so explosive. And for the edge rushers, I mean, you've got those 3 guys on the inside who are going to set them up so well. And they might have the easiest job in the NFL among edge rushers just because of all the help they get inside and the number of one-on-ones they'll get. This would be a great day for them to show up.
And one more thing, like you said, you can't drop interceptions, but when you get a pick, bring it to the house.
Yeah.
Now, it's a lot easier said than done. But I know the Broncos defense was like, after week 1, like, damn, we probably would have won that game if Alex would have been able to bring that interception that he had to the house. And then they go up 7-0 to start the game. And then from there, it kind of just changes the flow of the game. So this is a ridiculous ask to put all of this on the defense. But we've seen it before in the past decade where you put it all on the defense and Super Bowl 50 defense, Todd. You guys were able to do it. It's a ridiculous ask, but that's where we're at with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, we're going to need a defense step up. Till we get a player like, Travis Hunter that can have 130 yards on offense and also create the game-winning forced fumble on defense. We're going to need our defense to step up. And if they're going to step up, we're also going to need some other people on the offense to step up. And we have some picks for you guys. Our pregame picks are presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, these are our pregame picks, so these are some picks that we want you guys to bet on or that we feel like would be beneficial if you did bet on. My personal favorite is the top of the list, and that's the one that I had. We all three picked one, and we're all going to talk about whether it's a good pick or not. But my first one is Josh Reynolds plus 50 yards is plus 225. And I honestly feel like this is an easy bet to take because in the first game he had 96 yards. The last game he had 48 yards. I think he's really, really primed to have a 50-yard game. And for a wide receiver, a 50-yard game is not hard to have. You just got to connect with the quarterback at least 3 times, and I think he'll be able to do that today.
Yeah, and I really like that because, like you said, the Bucs are also going to view Courtland Sutton as their number 1 receiver and have to shut him down. That does open up Josh Reynolds, and we've seen that the past 2 weeks, just like you said. I've got Bo Nix.
Yeah, I want to take yours.
Yeah, I know.
Yours looks like a lot.
I got Bo Nix rushing yards over 22 and a half. Are you sure? Okay, so I got Bo Nix rushing yards over 22 and a half, and the reason for this is this is going to be a way to just help Bo settle in and use the RPO game, use read options, use designed quarterback runs for Bo. I don't want him to lead the team in rushing, but I do think he's going to get way over 22 yards. Let's hope he's like 3rd on the team in rushing with getting 31 yards. But then Javonte gets 60 and Jaleel gets 50. That's a recipe for success. But either way, whether he's a leading rusher or not, I think he's definitely going to hit this over. He has in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I like that one. I also just like the team over. 109.5 rushing yards for the Broncos. Again, if they can't do that today, it's time to get really nervous about this offensive line and the running game. But I think they can. I think they will. I think Sean really wants to lean on the running game, and he gives him every chance to prove that he should. Today, they at least do enough to get to 109.5.
Like you said, if not, you're just putting way too much on Bo's shoulders. And also, Alex Palcho's shoulders at right tackle. If you just let the Bucs don't have a pass rush.
Yes.
But if you drop back 40 times with a with Alex Palchevsky's making his first start in the NFL, he's technically your 3rd string tackle with a rookie quarterback. That's a way to give the Bucs a pass rush right there. So don't do that. Don't do that. Try to avoid that as much as you can. Obviously, at the end of the game, if you're down and you need points, you're going to be dropping back. But don't start off with more passing than running the ball at the beginning of the game.
Even then, if we're down, I feel like we should run the ball.
Yeah.
Try and lean on the running game. I don't know. And just hope that your defense comes up with a play. We have to get this thing started because if we don't, it's going to be a long, long season. And I'm here for the Broncos to be good, but I'm not here to, stress for the next 15 games. Oh, yeah, shout out to the specialized bet. This is the bet brought to you by DNVR. This is a parlay bet. Bo Nix plus 25 rushing yards, which goes right along with what Zach is saying. Jaleel McLaughlin plus 25 rushing yards, which he's definitely capable of. Yeah. Over 0.5 touchdowns for the Denver Broncos. Now, that's a tricky one.
It shouldn't be tricky.
That's a tough one. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to make that. But over 1.5 field goals for the Denver Broncos, we're definitely going to get that done. We have a great field goal kicker. And he'll make sure he'll get the ball. And that's one thing we haven't, been pretty solid at is that we might not be able to get into the end zone, but we can definitely make the field goals from 30 yards and in. So hopefully that bet goes well for you guys. I think that's a pretty solid bet to put together. Pretty good parlay. Hank is king of the parlays, and he approves it. So That'll do it for us here on the pregame show. Come join us after the game. We'll do the postgame show, and we'll break down the Broncos film, let you know what we see, and I'm sure that we're going to have a lot to talk about. Peace, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.